And let's say a teacher just wasn't able to plan ahead. They weren't able to produce a large print worksheet, and the student in the class does need that accommodation. Everything needs to be in large print in order for them to access the materials. So obviously, the TVI would work with the teacher to make sure everything was prepared ahead of time. But what would happen if the student needed to fill this worksheet out and it wasn't in a large print format? Teacher couldn't go make a copy, or didn't have the capacity to email it to the student to access it via an app like GoodNotes or Notability, so which would be done ahead of time typically. So this is kind of like what happens when nothing really goes to plan, but the student still needs to make it, or is able to make it accessible. And so if the student has a para, the para can do this with them, or ideally if we're able to train the student to do this, in emergency situations only, that would be ideal. So over here, so the student would have a tablet. This is an iPad. And what we're gonna do here is we need to import this worksheet into here, and there's scanner apps we can do. But the great thing about, then again, this is GoodNotes. There's other great apps as well as Notability and other ones as well that has very similar functionality. And so what we need to, in order to get this paper in here, instead of taking a picture on the camera setting of the iPad, we can just do it through GoodNotes. So if we scroll down here, we can do camera right here. So we go new and then camera right there. And so this basically gives GoodNotes access to the camera. So we're just gonna go ahead and line the worksheet up right here. Okay, so let's check this out. And I'm not worried about the orientation right now because we can change that within GoodNotes, but as long as it's in focus, which it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and click down here, use photo. And then it went ahead and saved to my notes, or into GoodNotes. And so here's the thing, so we do need to change the orientation. So we're gonna go up here and click on here, and it's gonna do rotate page. I'm gonna go clockwise 90 degrees, so we're good. So now it's still not accessible to the student because it's not large print. And what I really like about this app, and again, there's other ones that do this too, is so student can individualize the zoom, and so they can just pinch, and they can make it as large as needed. And so, so they're able to access it this way. And the other great thing about this app is that it allows students to complete worksheets and able to write their answers in, or either with a pencil, like a tablet pencil like this, or their hands. So I have the tablet pencil selected, and this is it's via Bluetooth. It's automatic connection, and the student can also choose the ink color as well as the pressure point, like the amount of ink that appears when the pencil is pressed down onto the tablet. So let's say the student writes their name first of all, they read the question, and they want to select muffins, and of course they can individualize how much they're going to zoom in. And then let's say they want muffins, so they're going to circle muffins. And so the great thing about this app is when you go ahead and make your selection and you move it around, it stays there. And so you don't have to worry about alignment issues for when you input answers, things being changed when they move around. That is not an issue with this app. So basically they'll go ahead and complete the worksheet. And again, the accessibility aspect is they're able to zoom in as needed, which we like. And obviously this would be an option. We like to get them to this information to them ahead of time without them having to make the worksheet accessible themselves. This is just kind of something that I would do ahead of time, and maybe the teacher would email me the document, and then or the student can go ahead and import it that way ahead of time. And so there's a lot of options that we can do ahead of time. But this is just kind of what do we do when everything goes wrong. So once the student kind of completes the worksheet and finishes everything there, so what they can do here is we can export it. And so we can hit export this page, and then they choose how they want to export it. And so export a PDF, image, or GoodNotes. So we can just say PDF here. And then, where do we want to do it? So where do we want to send it? So we can text it to somebody, email it to someone, save it to the Dropbox, Google Docs. And so the functionality is there, Google Drive, and that way if it's a Google Classroom, they can save it right into the assignment in there, and so the teacher can see it. And when the teacher sees it, all they can do is shrink it down to normal size. But the student was able to do this in order to make it accessible. So this is something I really I learned this year, just this functionality, and my students are really liking it. Again, we typically get this to them ahead of time, so when the worksheets are handed out in class or it's time to work on something in class, all they do is it's already inputted in here, and they just open up the worksheet themselves and they can begin accessing it right away. So again, this was just kind of what to do if the teacher for whatever reason didn't pre-plan, and the TBI just didn't have time to get involved, right then and there in the classroom. But the student, can do this in an emergency method in order to make it accessible. Okay, thank you.